Welcome to Ghostly Gazette, where the supernatural meets the everyday. Tonight we have four spine-chilling tales that will leave you questioning the world around you. Have you ever felt a presence in an empty room? Have you ever heard a noise you couldn't explain? What would you do if you saw something that shouldn't be there? These are the questions that will haunt you as we delve into tonight's stories. Prepare yourself for an unforgettable journey into the unknown. Hit that subscribe button, and let's explore the mysteries together. A few years back, I embarked on a road trip from New Hampshire to Florida. Halfway there, exhaustion set in, and I decided to stop and rest for the night. I found an old, run-down inn just off the highway on a desolate road. The parking lot was almost empty, with only 2 other cars parked outside. It was evident that this place rarely saw guests. The woman at the front desk matched the inn's eerie atmosphere perfectly. She was robotic and seemed utterly uninterested in her job. The lobby was filled with mismatched, tacky furniture that looked like it belonged at a yard sale. The wallpaper was equally outdated and unappealing. But I wasn't concerned about the aesthetics. I just needed a place to sleep. It was late when I checked in, so I went straight to my room, brushed my teeth, and climbed into bed. I turned off the lamp and tried to sleep, knowing I had a long drive ahead of me. But then, there was a knock at the door. I glanced at the bedside clock. It was almost midnight. I went to the door and looked through the peephole, but it was useless. All I saw was darkness. I looked under the door, but didn't see any shadows indicating someone was standing outside. I opened the door a crack to peek into the hallway. It was empty. Confused, I shut the door, bolted it, and went back to bed. Moments later, another knock at the door startled me. This time, I jumped out of bed and checked the peephole again. This time, I could see the empty hallway. I unbolted the door and opened it wide. Still, no one was there. I was starting to feel uneasy, thinking someone in this nearly deserted inn was playing a prank on me. I grabbed my room key and went to the front desk to report the disturbances. I told the woman at the desk about the knocks and asked if she could check the cameras. She told me rather indifferently that they didn't have cameras in the hallways. She mentioned there was only one other guest in the whole building and then stared blankly at me. Her lack of concern made me realize she wouldn't be much help. Frustrated, I returned to my room, locked the door with the bolt, and put on my headphones. I played a 10-hour sleep relaxation video on YouTube to help me fall asleep and drown out any potential noises. It worked for a while and I managed to doze off. Later, I flipped from my side to my back and glanced around the room. My heart nearly stopped when I saw what looked like a giant humanoid figure, at least 10 feet tall, standing in the corner, its head brushing the ceiling. I sat up, trying to get a closer look, but the image in my mind sent a wave of terror through me. I jumped out of bed to turn on the lamp, and when the room lit up, the corner was empty. I sat there, heart racing, trying to calm down. After a few minutes, I turned off the light and lay back down, still listening to the relaxation video. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. But not even 2 minutes later, I found myself sitting up and examining the room again. There it was, the same towering figure in the corner. This time I was sure I saw its long arm moving slightly. I couldn't take it anymore. I jumped out of bed, packed my things in record time, and fled the room. I handed the key to the woman at the front desk and told her I was checking out early. She didn't say a word as I hurried out of the inn and got back in my car. I drove until I found another hotel, where I finally fell asleep without any further supernatural disturbances. I'm 27 years old and live with my brother Jack in a house we share. My life had always been normal, uneventful, until one bizarre week changed everything. It started on what seemed like an ordinary night. I was in the kitchen washing dishes before bed when suddenly a plastic cup crashed to the floor. Startled, I turned around to see a blue plastic cup bouncing a few times before lying still. This cup usually sat on top of the cabinet, always upright. It didn't make sense how it had fallen off. I picked it up and put it back. But that wasn't the last strange event of the night. While in bed with the blinds shut, I noticed a faint glow in my room. It filtered through the blinds. Too lazy to lift them, I peeked through the crack at the bottom but saw nothing. I dismissed it as a streetlight or something equally mundane. At the time, I had no reason to suspect anything paranormal. The next day, while home alone, it was dark and stormy. The house constantly rumbled from the thunder. When I heard a cup fall in the kitchen, I thought it was the thunder. But when I went to pick it up, I realized it was the same blue plastic cup I'd put back on the cabinet the previous day. Thunder couldn't have knocked it down from there. I placed it on the counter, feeling uneasy. As I stood in the kitchen, I heard a creak in the floor above me, my bedroom. I called out for Jack, forgetting he wasn't home. Maybe it was just the thunder shaking the house, but I needed to check for peace of mind. I went upstairs, turned on the lights, and saw my room and closets were empty. I shut off the light and went back downstairs. That night when Jack got home, I told him about the strange events. He hadn't noticed anything unusual. The rest of the night was normal, and I fell asleep easily. I woke up at an odd hour in the night. It was still dark. I checked my phone. It was 2 a.m. I rolled over and shut my eyes when I heard the distinct sound of a finger tapping on a window. My heart raced. I didn't want to see who could be out there. Then it hit me. I was on the second floor. No one could be outside my window. I threw off the sheets and looked at the window. No one was standing inside, so I lifted the blind. There was no one outside either. Still, I knew I heard it. I wasn't dreaming. I ran to Jack's room, freaking out. Whether he believed me or not, I don't know. I wouldn't have believed me either if I hadn't experienced it. I slept in the living room that night. It's been 3 weeks now without any more incidents. I never believed in the supernatural until this happened. When I was a child, around 7 years old, my mom and I were in the kitchen preparing dinner. The evening was calm, the air filled with the comforting aroma of home-cooked food. Our kitchen was a cozy, familiar place with wooden cabinets, a checkered floor, and a large window that overlooked the backyard. It was a place where we spent countless hours together, sharing stories and laughter. As my mom chopped vegetables and I set the table, I glanced toward the corner of the room. My heart skipped a beat. Standing there, partially obscured by the shadows, was a strange figure. It was tall and indistinct, almost like a silhouette with no discernible features. The air around it seemed to shimmer slightly, as if the figure wasn't entirely solid. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Mom," I whispered, my voice trembling. "There's someone in the corner." My mom stopped what she was doing and followed my gaze. She squinted at the empty corner and then looked back at me with a concerned expression. "There's no one there, sweetie," she said gently. "You must be imagining things." But I knew what I had seen. The figure hadn't moved or vanished. It simply stood there, watching. I couldn't shake the feeling of being observed. That night I had trouble falling asleep, my mind replaying the eerie sight over and over. The next morning I was still unsettled. At breakfast I decided to tell my older brother, James, about what I had seen. He was 10 years older than me and usually dismissed my worries with a laugh. But this time his reaction was different. His face grew serious and he leaned in closer. "You saw it too?" he asked quietly. I nodded, surprised. "You saw it? When?" James glanced around, ensuring our mom wasn't within earshot. "When I was around your age," he said. "I saw the same figure in the same corner." I told Mom, but she didn't believe me either. I thought it was just my imagination. Curious and slightly unnerved, I decided to talk to my other siblings. My sister, who was 5 years older than me, listened with wide eyes as I recounted my experience. She bit her lip and confessed that she, too, had seen the figure when she was young. My eldest brother, now in college, admitted the same. We were all shocked. Each of us had seen this strange figure at around the same age, always in the kitchen corner. We couldn't explain it, and our mom's disbelief didn't help. The more we talked, the more we realized that none of us had mentioned it to each other before, each thinking it was just a childhood fantasy or a trick of the light. Determined to find answers, we decided to investigate. James suggested setting up a camera in the kitchen to try and capture the figure. We borrowed an old camcorder from our dad and set it up discreetly, hoping to catch a glimpse of our mysterious visitor. For several nights, we recorded our kitchen. Each morning, we eagerly reviewed the footage but found nothing unusual. Just when we were about to give up, something happened. One night, as we reviewed the latest recording, we noticed a subtle flicker in the corner where the figure usually appeared. We watched intently as the flicker grew into a faint, shadowy shape. The figure slowly materialized, just as we had seen it with our own eyes. It stood there for a few moments before fading away. Our hearts pounded with a mix of fear and excitement. We had proof that the figure existed. But what was it? And why did it only appear to us as children? We showed the footage to our mom, expecting her to dismiss it. Instead, she sat silently, her face pale. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "I saw it too," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "When I was a child, I thought it was just my imagination. I never told anyone." We were stunned. This figure had haunted our family for generations, a silent observer in the corner of our kitchen. We never discovered its true nature or purpose, but knowing we weren't alone in our experiences brought us closer together. To this day, the figure remains a mystery, an unsettling part of our family's history. Whenever I visit my childhood home, I can't help but glance at the kitchen corner, half expecting to see that strange figure standing there, watching silently. One of the things I had to do when I was growing up was help out on our family's farm during the summertime. I had a lot more work to do, but I didn't really mind it. I liked being out and doing something helpful for the whole family. Plus, farm work might have been hard, but it also did a lot to keep you in shape. From a young age, I started getting pretty strong pretty quickly. This happened when I was about 12 years old. I mostly remember the summer that it happened because it was a very hot one. I always liked the hot summers over the cold winters because there was so much more that you could do. I hated being kept inside over the winter and only being able to be outside for small amounts of time. This summer, however, was very hot. This happened before anyone thought about anything like global warming and stuff like that. My dad had gotten heat exhaustion several times that summer, and whenever he did, all the kids had to help out that much more. One morning we noticed that one of the scarecrows had been knocked over. We kept them pretty secure, so this almost never happened. My dad was going to go out and fix it after he had taken care of some other chores, but it was another hot day, and he had gotten himself overheated yet again. My mom kept him inside at one point against his own wishes, and I decided I was going to take care of that scarecrow. The scarecrows were elevated off the ground so they could be seen when the corn grew really tall. This was summer, so the corn had grown a fair bit. I took the wooden ladder out there and did my best hauling the scarecrow back up so I could refasten it. It wasn't particularly heavy, but it was pretty awkward getting it up that high. While I was fixing the scarecrow, it felt like a rock or something had been thrown at me from somewhere behind me. It hit me right in the back. I turned around, expecting to see one of my brothers out in the field, but there wasn't anyone there that I could see. I chalked it up to nothing important and went back to what I was doing. It only took a few moments until I was once again hit with something. This time it hit me right in the back of the head, and it actually hurt quite a lot. I began calling out the names of my older brothers, who I thought were doing this to me. I told them to leave me alone. No one responded. There was no giggling or anything like that. Normally my brothers would giggle quite a lot when they were teasing me. The third time this happened, I started getting really pissed off. The rock hit me right in the back of the head again, and this time it managed to even draw blood. I told my brothers to knock it off, or I would tell my dad they were interrupting the farm work. None of my brothers would have continued after that, because they were scared to death of the whooping my dad would have given them. Then, though, I looked out and saw someone standing there in the corn. I couldn't make out much of them since they were hidden behind all the stalks, but I could tell it was clearly not one of my brothers. I could see a part of his face, and he had a sick, depraved, maniacal look on his face. He was standing a good 10 meters away from me, and was absolutely the freakiest person I'd ever seen. It only took one movement toward me to get me really moving. I jumped down off the ladder and began running as fast as I could out of the field. It was not easy to do, but it was just as hard for the other guy to chase me. Plus, I was young and in tremendous shape, so I was able to escape the field and run up to where one of my brothers was doing some work. I told him what happened, and that some guy was chasing me. My brother, Elliot, was 19 years old and a big, muscular farm boy. He always carried a knife on him, so he took it out and went over to look. For a moment, we both saw the guy just standing inside the corn. Even my brother stopped in hesitation at the strange appearance of this man. We only saw him for a few brief moments as he turned around and ran back into the field. My brother chased after him. I guess he wanted to give the guy a good-ass beating, but the man was able to give him the slip. Elliot went ahead and took care of the Scarecrow, because there was no way I was going back out there. He also searched for the guy a bit more, but we were never able to find him. You've just heard 4 tales that defy explanation and challenge our understanding of the world. But the questions remain: what truly haunts the old Highway Inn? What was behind the unsettling week of strange occurrences? Who was the unseen visitor in the kitchen corner, and what was their purpose? And who or what was lurking in the cornfield during that hot summer day? These stories remind us that the line between the known and the unknown is thinner than we think. Sometimes the answers elude us, leaving us to ponder the mysteries that lie just out of sight. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you enjoyed these tales, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more journeys into the unknown. And remember, the next story could be yours. Until next time, stay curious and keep your eyes open. You never know what you might see.